Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of The Gifted Gab. I'm joined by my co-host Alex, as well as a special guest, Afta Hill. We got into a lot this episode. We talked about ownership, the upcoming ban on TikTok and what that means for artists, as well as how efficiency has impacted every industry. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy.
You are now tuned in to The Gifted Gab.
Welcome back to the Brazzers After.
Talk about monetization. We're cooked.
It's over for us.
This episode's brought to you by What is it? No sponsor.
No sponsor.
Ontario Camera.
Ontario Camera. Shout out.
Ontario
They
Camera.
helped me out with a lot of my music videos too. So shout out.
Man. Shout out to the culture. Welcome, man. This is long overdue. I think we actually met the same summer that we started the Gifted Gab.
19.
Yeah.
You told me a bit about that story. Where'd you guys meet?
We met at a writing camp, which, by the way, none of those songs
Ever came out.
Ever. They didn't go anywhere. We spent 3 days at a writing camp, not a single song, right? We probably made like 15 to 20 songs, not even one of them. But more importantly, I got to obviously meet Alex. And why were you there?
My homie was there doing writing. 9, AB.
You were the plus one?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting on the couch, just sometimes when I know that none of the songs are going to be good. Because there was only one main room and they were making straight ass.
Oh.
It was straight ass.
I remember
Was
that.
anyone talking? Was anyone being honest with these guys? What's
I didn't spend
what?
any time in there, so.
You know what it is?
Kept
It's
it
just you can't go in when there's 5 artists working their ass off and be like, yo, guys, this is ass. And it wasn't my writing camp. It's not like they were writing for me. If it was for me, I'd be like, guys, next idea. This is ass. But no, they were trying their best off. And, when you're in a writing camp, you need the delusion. Because you're writing for, let's say Rihanna. You're writing for Drake. You're writing for whatever. You have to have the delusion that, the next song I'm writing is going to make it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
What's the point of being there? Yeah.
So what is a writing camp for people that don't know it?
Okay, a writing camp is usually worthless. 90% of the time, it's useless. Okay, but a bunch of really good artists, songwriters, producers get into a studio. Maybe they book out 2 rooms, 3 rooms, and an A&R comes in and they say, okay, Summer Walker's writing a new album, Beyonce's writing a new album, Rihanna's writing a new album, and they're looking for whatever type of references, and they'll be more specific as to slow R&B, fast rap, whatever, and so you literally just spend 8 to 10 hours doing that every multiple days in a row. Sometimes something comes out of it, but I've never even been part of a camp where even any of the songs ever get placed. But that's not to say they don't. The best songwriting camps are usually when a producer puts them on, like a successful producer puts them on, not the fucking A&Rs, because no disrespect, but
Yeah.
so anyways, it was straight ass. The other room was straight ass.
It's one thing to be honest about, to critique another artist's work it's tough because they're putting their heart and soul into this, and it's it's their heart on their sleeve with their work.
Okay,
right?
let me give you an analog. If I put you two in a room with 3 other writers and then shut the door and said, okay, write something now, and write something that'll be a fucking NBC sitcom in 8 hours, you guys would probably write trash. Realistically, the it's a lot of pressure, and it's way too forced and weird, and
It's got to be organic.
When you put a deadline on anything, it makes it tougher.
yeah. So
Way tougher.
I don't blame them for making ass. It's just it's a weird situation, and a lot of the people you'll meet are people you've met the first time. You know what I mean? So now you're doing this vulnerable thing of creating. Which is why, I was playing the guitar because I was like, this shit is ass.
This guy's in the corner just strumming the strings.
Yeah.
Just fucking.
And then he comes and sits next to me, and so obviously we're just chatting and shooting the shit. And he's like, yo, by the way, I'm Persian. I'm like, no the fuck you're not. Shut your mouth. And then he said something to me in Farsi, and I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. You know a phrase, eh? And he's like, no, I swear to God, I'm Persian.
One thing about Alex, man, he's like a vegan. You're gonna know he's Persian. He's gonna tell everyone everything. You're gonna know he's Persian. It's very
If I don't say anything, they're
It's-
just gonna think I'm a
it's-
fucking black guy.
Yeah.
Whoa, what's wrong with that, man? Whoa,
I know, the
hey,
way you
whoa,
said that.
Hey, whoa,
Just
whoa,
a
hey.
fucking black guy?
What's going on there, bro?
You know what I'm saying? I gotta,
Hey, that's
I
kind of
didn't like
crazy.
the use of the word just.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that just was capitalized.
Listen,
brother.
I'm just trying to show that I'm multidimensional.
That's nasty word.
So it's only one. Being black is only one dimension.
Oh,
one
that's
dimensional.
crazy.
That's
You calling
crazy.
them
You wanna talk about the
lacking
black
depth?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy,
diaspora?
man.
Come on,
Us
man.
black people.
You know what, guys?
funny.
You know what? I'm sick of this. Okay? I'm sick of this.
Welcome to the
Sick of
Persian
this.
Brazzers Hour.
Welcome to the Gifted Gab,
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. No,
Hey,
one thing
man.
you're gonna know.
You gonna know.
Yeah. I remember I was at a comedy show with you in Edmonton. We saw
Maximini?
Maximini, yes. And at the end, he was fantastic. The first time seeing him, and at the end of it, we're sitting beside this group of Persians in front of him, and he tells them it's like these older ladies in their 50s, 60s. He's like, "What? You're Persian?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And he ends up speaking Farsi after. It was funny to see.
It's actually immaculate. Can I tell you a funny story about? I went to see Maximini,
Yeah.
and I went with my two boys. We sat right in the front. It was the Laugh Factory in LA. First of all, if you don't know, you guys probably know, you don't sit in the front unless you're like ready to get roasted,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so Max is literally, I'm dressed kind of similar to this, and my two boys are way taller than me. They're big dudes, and he's like, he looks at us, he's like, it looks like these are your bodyguards, and you're like a rich Dubai dude, whatever. So we started going back and forth. He's like, what do you do? I'm an artist. Oh yeah, blah blah blah. And you know, that's the moment where he like licks his chops. Funny thing is, my homegirl who I'd never met was at the Laugh Factory that night, sitting completely far away from me. And so we just chatted before. He's like, if anybody knows Afta Hill here, you know, make a sound. And she went crazy. And then obviously like shit his pants. He's like, no fucking way.
In the chat.
I was like, yeah.
He's
I
a
guess
funny
it's
dude,
like,
man.
He is a really funny
Yeah.
dude.
He is.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, we've seen him. I've seen him a couple times. I've seen a lot of comedians. I think comedians make some of the best podcast guests.
Oh, absolutely.
They make the best podcast.
Yeah.
I would say so, yeah, because they know how to roll with the punches. It's interesting. Anything you throw at them, they'll make some way of a joke out of it. It's great,
It's beautiful
and
stuff.
everyone wants to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Who does? Do you know anyone that doesn't want to laugh? Like, come on. I met a guy the other day that said that he doesn't like music.
Yo, I know someone like that. Weird.
How is that? How is that possible?
That's so weird.
Dog, I went to high school with this guy. And he's like, yeah, I just like, I'm like, what's like in your, you know, library? Like, what music do you listen to? He's like, yeah, I don't listen to music.
That's a big red flag, to
Bro,
me.
that's like seeing life in gray and black. Like, how does that?
So what do you do
That's
for
odd,
your pain?
man. Yeah.
And it's like,
You know what I'm
okay,
saying? Like,
let's say you don't like films, right? You're like, okay, films are long.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
It's understandable. You're still stupid and wrong, but I get
yeah,
it.
you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Yeah, you're entitled to be wrong. It's understandable. But what is that? Like, yo, no, sorry, I don't want to hear this 2-minute
Yeah.
thing that requires none of my attention. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
That
There
sounds-
has to be a name for that.
A mental illness,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
but like of the highest caliber.
Yeah, yeah. That's like mental asylum type behavior.
Yeah.
That's immediate red flag.
I
Trying to
mess
date with a
people
girl.
like that. I'm just like a number one red flag.
No, that's
If
So
you're
what
on
do
a
you-
date
what do
with
you
a
if you
girl-
don't like that, there's a lot else you don't like, right? Like what? Come on.
What
are
do you
we
listen
doing
to
here?
in the car?
I don't like things that are sweet.
I don't like things that make me feel away.
It's almost, it gives me like toxic masculinity vibes. You
Yeah.
ever meet dudes who are like, nah, man, that's
Yeah,
gay.
Yeah,
The thing in question is like using a Kleenex.
yeah.
Only paper towel, dog.
Eating a banana.
There's a TikTok page of like these white middle-aged 50-year-old dads who talk about toxic masculinity, and one was like, "If you break your back, just fix it yourself. Be a
I
man.
fucking love that
Be
guy.
a man."
I know exactly
You know
what
what
you're
I'm
talking about. That
talking-
guy's hilarious.
That guy is so funny.
He's got the stash.
Yeah, you got the stash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bald white dude. And it's
Oh
it's
my-
hilarious because we're in the age now too where like I think everyone is trying to push this agenda of like men being in this bold masculine space and like not being able to like cook. We can't, you can't take care of our health. All these little things like our wellness. It's like, oh, you do that, you're not a man. Like, what are you talking about?
Like,
What do you mean?
nothing's better than like how is it cool? Like, okay, can I just back up one more step? Why is this like this culture of like, yo, if you're trying like that, yo, you're fucking lame.
In general?
Yeah, like why are you trying so hard, bro? The fuck is that? Like, how am I supposed to do anything? What do you mean why the fuck am I trying? Because I want some.
I think
I'm trying
because
to do
people,
something.
it's easier for people to criticize something than it is for make their own thing.
100%.
And a lot of people like we're seeing it ourselves. We just we just made a post the other day about this whole Drake and Kendrick fiasco and how people are reacting to that, and like we're getting so much hate on it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Guys are like, yo, take away podcasts. This guy shouldn't be doing that. Yet alone, we started this 5 years ago, so they're missing this context. But it's so much easier to say that is trash than it is to actually get in the field and take that risk.
A guy I used to like back when I used to play basketball decades ago, used to train, and he used to say, you want to try so hard to the point that it looks effortless. And I'm like, oh, I get it. He's on something there. He said, when you work so hard at something behind the scenes, when you show up and you're just doing it, it actually looks effortless. It actually looks like you're not trying, right? And so what you're talking about is like people conflating like, oh, you're trying. It's like they think that you have to just show up and like it should look like
You should be excellent.
you should be excellellent.
right away.
But not understanding that it takes so many hours for something to look like flawless and effortless. It's like,
Dude, I remember I was reading Quincy Jones's book. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't reading the book. The audio book. He reads that shit. It's gas. All right.
sometimes it's
he's
better.
an
It's better.
audiobook
I'm
guy.
an audiobook
Big
guy.
I
audiobook
tried,
guy.
but I can never.
What am I
get
gonna
into it,
turn a
man.
fucking piece of wood
Come
that
on,
you
man? Like
made
it's
small and
has
wrote
some
things
character
on?
in it, man.
Oh,
earn
fuck.
those words.
That's
man.
valid.
What are you
That's
doing,
valid.
man? Come on.
He talks about how one of his jazz idols, I can't remember who it was, said, "You want to practice so hard, not so you get it right. You want to practice so hard that you can't get it wrong." And that resonated with me.
Yeah,
It's real,
old.
bro. That's
It's
real.
old. Yeah,
It's real.
that 10,000 hour rule. I feel like when I was hooping back in the day, practices are always harder than games.
Always.
They're always harder. You know, you want to put yourself in the most strenuous situations because when it is time to perform, whether it's in the arts or any type of space, it's like that. It's second nature. It's intuitive at that point.
Did you guys find that AAU is harder or like high school basketball? I found that AAU was so fucking easy because the coach like was like, all right, like whatever.
Depends where you're
AU was
playing.
just harder because we played 5 games in one day.
That's true.
And we're not young anymore. Like there's times where I get up in the morning and why is my back hurting? Why is my groin stiff?
Bro,
You know
me
what I
and this
mean?
guy played basketball a couple months ago. Bro, I was in pain for a week. My whole body was hurting. I couldn't like. I'm like, yo, why did I do this to myself?
Oh yeah.
That
it's
was
risky.
so
It's
funny.
risky.
It was hilarious.
That shit was so me, him,
Yeah.
and Tehran and
Puria. Yeah.
We played basketball, and that shit was so funny. This man showed up, and for 2 games, he was unstoppable.
What?
He was him.
Joe's not. Come on, don't
For
do that.
2
bro.
games. For 2
Yeah?
games, he was
That was
cooking
it,
ass.
yeah?
He was whooping feet.
That was
and
it. That was
then
it.
you could sort of see.
I know
A
you
lot
did
of
the
scoops.
Scoops layups. I know
A lot
this
of
guy.
Bro, this man plays under the rim like a young Andre Miller. Or I guess like an old Andre Miller.
That was a very old man game.
Yeah.
The old
That's
man
slowed
YMCA game was so
that's it.
fucking proper.
Yeah.
Like, and but then you could see all
But
of us.
oh my God.
All of us.
Yeah.
Not even just you. All
Everybody,
of us.
yeah.
We just like started.
Yeah, I think
The
we're getting to
joints-
the age where it's like 1-2 games.
Max.
After that, it's just downhill
Max.
from then. You got to
played-
know. The thing is, you got to know when to quit. In everything
it.
in life, you got to know when to
but
quit.
when it comes to basketball, it's impossible.
It's so hard. Because
Yeah,
it's
one more,
pride.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
for
pride. You lose. You're like, yo, I don't want to lose on
I
a. I
can't
don't want to
do
leave
it.
on an L. What are we doing?
It hurts.
It's worse when you win.
Oh,
It's actually worse when you win
Yeah.
because
You have to stay
eventually a
there.
fresh
You have
team
to- yeah.
comes in
and they whoop your ass.
Yeah.
They whoop your ass.
yeah, it's tough.
I don't have it no more.
We
It's
need to
too
find new hobbies other than basketball. Like I know I'm seeing a lot of people do golf. I'm seeing a lot of people get
Golf
it.
is very
Bowling.
hard.
Bowling is another thing. I
Dude,
would.
can
do
I just
bowling.
say your net worth just went up?
Yeah, absolutely.
said that.
Absolutely. 100%. Let me check my statement real quick. But no, bowling, I've been getting into
Bowling, eh?
bowling. Yeah.
Are you curving it?
Nah, I'm more of like a just
Straight down
strike
the
it
middle?
and pray.
Straight. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I like that.
Strike it and pray, yeah. Just
You're not that guy yet.
No, not yet.
Where you're
Not
like
yet.
looking at the grease patterns of the.
No. So the where I bowl, they have this screen at the top, and it tells you after you hit and you don't hit a strike, it tells you where to hit on the lines to then
to
hit
get it.
to get the
You're
rest
like,
of it. Yeah, to get
that's
a
a
spare.
good suggestion.
Yeah, like, curve it so it hits on the left side. Then after that pin will hit on the right. That will curve around, hit backwards. I'm like,
You're
what
like,
is
I'm
this?
just avoiding the gutters.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
just-
about. Do they have the animations there?
That's what I'm talking about. The animation, so it directs.
Love the
Animations are
animation.
Yeah.
hilarious.
I remember you came
was
a few
there,
times.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's- that was fun.
That was
So like bowling ball like pulls out a fucking gun and like
It's-
shoots
yeah.
it. But you're like, what is
Even
this?
there, one game, Did
You're
well.
cooking.
Yeah.
The rest of it, that's it.
You know, because you're under pressure too.
Yeah, after the first one, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
The pressure, you match it, you rise to the occasion. After that, I'm just here for show.
Do you guys remember going to bowling alleys as a kid?
Bowlerama.
And, like, not being strong enough to
Man.
really
Mhm.
get the
Oh,
ball down?
A lot of scoops, two-handers.
Granny shots. Y'all ever seen Jeremy Sohan shoot a free throw? Shoots them with one hand.
Yes. I heard about. I
fuck
saw
is
that
that
one time.
about?
It was weird. There's another guy who
Jeremy Sohan.
actually shoots underhand,
Underhand?
too. Yeah. I know that's what they did in the 50s, but
Didn't
like,
Rick Barry shoot like that?
Rick Barry shot
think
like
so
that
too,
and
yeah.
had like north of 80%.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
percentage, if I'm not
Probably had
mistaken.
great technique. He
Yeah.
definitely had like this
a lot of spin.
Spin.
Those wrists were well oiled. You know.
nice little follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say the NBA regular season is so fucking trash
It's
and
horrible.
tragic
It's horrible.
and
Yeah.
useless.
It's
Yeah.
horrible.
And I was talking to my brother about this, and my brother's like the biggest FA Cup, Premier League fan. And in the Premier League, the winner of the regular season is the winner.
Mm.
And it makes so much sense. He broke it down for me. He's like, it's way more impressive that the Golden State Warriors won 72 games than it is to win a 16-game maximum playoff. And I was like, you're so right. The consistency it takes to come out on top after 82 games is way more impressive, in my opinion, than winning one matchup at a time where injuries play a lot of the fucking...
Injuries
Yeah.
play a lot,
Role.
have a
Especially
lot,
if you're a fan too, you're looking forward to seeing your favorite player. You find out he's sitting out for personal reasons.
That's why they did
whatever,
the
health,
cup, the
it's
tournament,
tough.
the
Yeah.
in-season
The
tournament.
tournament's good, but
Yeah.
I think the NBA just needs 50-game regular season. I've had enough of this shit. You can't make 82 games matter.
Yeah, I saw a video of Adam Silver talking about some of the rules he's trying to implement about pushing the line back, because the 3-point line back,
makes
because
sense.
everyone's
That's
shooting.
bad for business.
It's bad for business because what it's going to do is what he said is it's going to pack everyone in the paint, crowd it up, and the basketball is going to look like it's like a grade
But
5
I saw
playground.
Wemby pull up from the logo. I don't think these guys care if the 3-point line goes
I
back.
doubt it. They're
But
still
the
going
thing
to
is,
be shooting
like,
high percentages.
When you're doing things like that, you change the game. You think you're messing up the history too.
But they always change the game though. Like they changed the game
Slight
with
change,
Shaq.
rule
3-point,
changes.
3-point, 3 in the key. I remember
3 in the
with
key was important.
3 in the key was very important. Hand checking, like all these things have been a part of the evolution of the game. But
But, okay, I don't give a fuck about the history. Fix the game. Like, with all due respect, we always do this thing where, like, we don't want to change conventions of certain things, especially in sports.
Sports especially.
Adaptation,
Especially in sports. Or even, like, in, like, award ceremonies and shit. There's just certain things you cannot change because history. Fuck the history. The game. I don't want to. Yo, I saw a fucking game the other day where I swear to God, for 8 possessions in a row, they drove and kicked for a 3. For 8 possessions in a row, it was the same thing. I'm like, who wants to watch this?
it's bad. It's hard to. I've told this guy it's hard for me to watch a full game of basketball.
I haven't
That's
watched-
all. I blame analytics, to be honest with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long twos, mid ranges. It's completely erased. That's not some of my favorite parts of the game is seeing that.
That's why, in my opinion, the 2000s was the best era of basketball.
Best.
I would say it's
well,
up there.
best
Most
not in
competitive,
terms of
most-
like
I
the
would-
best players, but it was the most entertaining.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, most entertaining.
entertaining.
Each team had one guy.
Yeah.
It's mono each night.
Some dogs.
Some
That 03
dogs.
draft class, all-star games were at its peak.
There's people just banging down low, like
Yeah.
You got 2 of the greatest dynasties in that 10-year span. It's like the Lakers
I mean,
and the
Boston.
Spurs.
yeah,
Oh, Spurs too.
Spurs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So it's like
Yeah.
you have like some of the greatest. You get Braun, you get Kobe, you get AI, T-Mac,
T-Mac,
Melo,
Carter,
Vince.
Vince Carter in his
You know,
prime,
Yeah, man.
That's the best era of basketball.
dude.
90s is like it's just Jordan.
You argue with a boomer, they'll tell you like the freaking 70s or 80s.
I don't want to hear about it.
No.
It's
When
tough.
those players were playing with their nose, that shit was trash.
Some of them.
Plumbers and
Some of them say they're playing plumbers and
carpenters
milkmen.
and shit. Milkmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
Oh,
none of
man.
that shit. I mean, it is really funny to think that like those Celtics Boston series, like some of those guys were probably so coked out,
Yeah.
sprinting
Oh,
down
man,
the court.
Yeah.
Just
But-
Say it was the 80s, man. Like
yeah. It goes back to your point. I want to touch back on what you said about the rules changing. you know, I think with all industries, we have to be able to adapt. We have to understand that talent changes, talent evolves. Everything is it's a part of the growth of the industry that we're in. Even with entertainment, I've seen in the Golden Globes and I think in the Oscars, they plan on opening up a few categories. I think it was with assistant directors, something very specific and very niche. But because
Production designers.
yeah, production designer, it's
They
everything's
don't have
expanding.
production designer.
I'm not sure.
I don't. Yeah,
They
but
have
these are
best
important.
production design, like best whatever. But
Yeah.
you're right. They don't have like those solo accolades for anything but I guess director, actor, actress,
Well, Golden Globes
writer,
is critics.
Supportive.
writer,
Supported.
support.
Yeah.
The Golden Globes is critics that vote those
That
awards,
true, yeah.
and then the Academy is like the actual Academy.
Well, and the tough thing is like you gotta fucking like okay to bring it back to analytics in a way. Like I think that we have this fucking awful obsession with like things being efficient. And I've had enough of efficiency with all due respect because like why do okay, here's an example. Anytime you build a structure, right? A building, right? That motherfucker is going to be there for like 15 to 50 years depending on how you build it. Why does it have to be efficient? Why can't it be pretty? 50 years of people looking at this building and none of them are going to be like, thank God it's efficient. Thank God they use the least amount of material and the cheapest material. No. Whereas like if it's beautiful and intricate and yeah, it'll be a little more expensive and maybe inefficient and whatever, but it's like that's every day of someone's life when they walk into that building or past that building or whatever. And the same thing goes for like fucking posts on the street, like bus stops, all types of shit have to be so efficient. And I'm like, fuck that. And the same is true of basketball. Like we, as a capitalist society, we like reverse engineer the outcome we want and fuck the humanity, fuck the artist, fuck the artistry, fuck making it pretty, fuck making it anything enjoyable. Like it's just like we want to win basketball games, and if you fucking put your toe 1 inch behind the 3-point line, that is the best shot you can take. So make sure you take as many of
Such
those
a weird
as
play.
fast as possible. You better take them as fast as you fucking can, boy. And it's like, okay, but is that why we play basketball? Like,
Yeah, a lot of it gets lost in that. I think it's the overall corporatization of building, sports. It's like everything's primed on efficiency, right? You think about, a building, right? It's like, why would you prioritize efficiency over safety, right? Codes. You think about Florida, there's
whole building
a building
that
collapsed,
yeah.
right? And then you start to add, and this is a whole other conversation about like contracts and like how to vet companies and stuff like that, and what's the track record of this company? Do they prioritize efficiency? Because a lot of times those contracts are like they're bidding for who could get the job done the cheapest, right? Which means most efficient,
efficiency.
right? But then you're skipping steps on like, okay, building codes, safety. I'm way out of my element here, but it's like
No, but look,
No, it's
the point
true,
you're
though.
making is that it like the outcome is not everything.
Yeah.
Having like the bare minimum to reach the finish line is so antithetical to the human nature of things. You don't play basketball necessarily just to win. You don't make buildings just to finish the building and have its function be met. I went to the Guggenheim. We were in New York at the same time.
that's crazy.
I went to the Guggenheim Museum. I don't know if you've ever been.
No.
It's this big spiral, like I'm going to use like Canadian measurements, but probably like 20 meters like in diameter, and it's a spiral, 5 floors, uninterrupted spiral with a very gradual incline, and then they lead to different like things. But the fucking building is beautiful, and walking through that building gives you such like a good feeling in a way.
Yeah. I think I like what you're saying here, man, because when I think about taking your time, I think there's a certain beauty that you can see. Like when I'm traveling to different cities, we always like to take in the architecture. We like to take in these landmarks because it's beautiful. They took their time with it. That attracts an audience. That attracts people to this place. That attracts tourism, right? If we're going to go to somewhere, we're not going there because, like you're saying, it's efficient, because it was built in.
Do you think the Eiffel Tower is made on efficiency?
Oh, please.
You know what's
You
funny?
think Eglinton Avenue West is made on efficiency?
Wow.
Yo, Metrolinx, don't kill me, dog. I didn't, Doug
Hey,
Ford,
man.
don't come to my house, bro.
Someone's got to say it.
No,
But
it's a cold take.
but I think when something is there, it's gonna last forever. It's important to take the time and not skip steps. And I say that across all mediums. We talk about this all the time, and especially with what we're doing. We're in an industry right now where everyone wants results so fast and so quickly. They see the next guy and what they've done, and they're like, yeah, damn, how do I get there? I want that now. I want that yesterday. And it's important in what we're doing to not rush that, to really understand, okay, why do we have to do this and why do we have to go through that route? And then, sooner than later we'll get there, but in due time.
And I'll never forget the moment I had this realization. My boy is like one of the best architects up and coming. Studied in England, like in the most prestigious architecture school. And imagine, like, he's from, like, Toronto, like, the GTA, just like me. So he comes back, gets a job, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, bro, you look depressed. What's wrong? And I'll never forget, we were sitting in a parking lot, and he's like, look at that Plaza building right there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, someone had to, like, think about building that. Someone decided to make that plaza with a Best Buy in it look like that permanently. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, there's a lot of these decisions that are made that, like, are disgustingly unpretty, are disgustingly
Passionless.
passionless and just, like, ugly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just ugly. I have an ADHD tangent. Yesterday I was looking at, Kenneth Lofton Jr. or whatever.
Yeah.
Y'all see he, like, doesn't play in the NBA anymore.
Yeah, the lefty, light skin.
Yeah.
He's disgusting, though.
He's on
In
Memphis
his
for a bit,
first
yeah.
game starting for Memphis, he dropped a 40-piece.
Mm.
A 40-piece. But he plays the ugliest basketball you'll ever see in your life. He's that big dude who just, like, and then, like, hides under the rim to go over, right? That guy can't get an NBA contract because he doesn't play the way that, like, they see it efficiently. But bro's giving you a fucking 40-piece on 60% efficiency. It's
He reminds me
like,
of Zebo.
He's a modern day Zebo, and like with that too, it's that industry is all about timing and opportunity. If you get the right coach at the right time with the right players around you, it's a wrap. I think that applies to everything too. It's and with Kenny Lofton, bro, I remember that guy was killing. He was at Louisiana Tech, destroying the NCAA. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's got to. I hope he would go far. You know what I mean? And then to come to see that, I think he's playing in the Euro League.
He's in China.
He's in China now.
Shanghai Sharks.
Okay, Shanghai Sharks. Yeah.
It's tough, man.
It's yeah.
You know that Adam Silver meme? The get ready to learn Chinese, buddy?
Oh yeah.
One
They
of
try
my-
to do that with everyone in the playoffs, man. They try to
That's
do that
all
with
of us
Dylan. I was
right
like,
now
you
that
guys are idiots.
TikTok's getting banned. It's Adam Silver looking at all of us
What
collectively.
are your thoughts on TikTok, man?
Yo, all right, it's about to get hot, you know?
I have thoughts, but I
Talk to
want to
me.
hear your thoughts.
There's this meta analysis, not meta like Facebook, but like a research paper that looked at the political sentiments per platform. And a lot of it was pretty obvious, right? You look at like Twitter or X and it's like a Nazi shithole. So it was like 30% right wing to like 21% left wing. And anyways, you go across everything and it was like a give or take 5 to 8 point lead on right wing sentiment on everything. Until you get to TikTok, where it was like a 1 point discrepancy between the sentiments of like left wing sentiment and right wing sentiment. And then you look at the fact that Palestine is mentioned more on TikTok than any other platform. And you're like, huh. And then you think about the fact that the State Department in the US has a backdoor and somewhat of a say on what Meta does. They can be like, hey, Meta, don't fucking let people talk about whatever thing. And Meta will be like, hey, that's kind of fucked up. Okay, do it. You know what I mean? But on TikTok, they don't have that right. And so there's been like a form, it is even with like Luigi Mangione on TikTok.
He's a hero.
People are, they don't care. They're like, yeah, fuck that guy. I would have done it too.
He's a sex icon for a lot of these girls, man. It's crazy.
But that doesn't happen on Instagram as much. That doesn't happen on Twitter as much. That doesn't happen on YouTube as much. And I think these guys are shitting their pants, low-key, because TikTok is eating everyone's lunch, right? They have this market share that is like undeniable. when it comes to like the user base and how
Gen
long
Z
people spend
especially.
it. Gen Z especially. Dude, 30 for people under 35, go look at their pro-Palestinian sentiment. It's like 60% to 70%. Then go look at the same number for 65 plus and it flips. It's literally like 30% of people are like pro-Palestinian plus 65. That's because legacy media basically parrots the talking points of the State Department of the U.S. Chomsky has a great term called manufacturing consent. It's a great book, by the way. It's a little old, but it's really good. He basically says that, like, dude, the propaganda that like an authoritarian government puts out often comes in the form of like owning the media company, right? Like if you're an authoritarian government, you own the media company, so you send the presser right to the media and they get it out to the people, right? That's how you disseminate your propaganda. In the Western world, we do something similar, but it's a little different. So these media conglomerates, they have to report on some global event, let's say, right? Just because we said Palestine, we'll take that. Actually, let's take South America, because we did some fucked up shit in South America as the global West. Then you look at how the New York Times talks about like overthrowing a leader, okay? And they'll be like, this radical dictator, blah, 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 he's overthrown. And then you look at the State Department and they're saying the same thing. And you realize that a lot of these media, like legacy media, will often just take what the State Department says and publish it as their own. And so it's like, if you're the state, you're licking your chops because you're like, I didn't even have to own the media company. They just said what I said because that's how it goes. And so TikTok is like the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
Because TikTok's like, hey, the
foreign
state,
owned.
the State Department said this, but yeah, fuck you. That's not what happened at all. And now that everybody has phones, it's like, I literally saw it. I literally saw the opposite of whatever narrative the global dominating hegemonic force of the U.S. is telling me.
Started with vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it became, I think the Palestine thing blew it out of like.
It blew. Well,
out
I
of the
mean, you
water.
look at APAC, right? And they put out official pressers being like, please ban TikTok. Please. It's fucked up. These kids aren't buying these lies anymore. Please ban it.
Well, what's happening now is like it democratizes everything. So like we're seeing firsthand what's happening in these events. And like the first time I remember studying this in university, the first time I've seen this occur, and this probably happened before, was with Arab Springs back in like the 2000s, when the public at that time had access to Facebook, and they were recording on like the megapixels
Potato
were
phones.
the Kato phones, and you're seeing these live events, and that actually led to a whole revolution of overthrowing these tyrannical governments and these dictator-like leaders. And I'm like, okay, if that's the power that they had 20 years ago,
Imagine now.
we
We got everything in 4K.
everything's 4K. Frank, I think they got 8K now. You know what I mean? Like this, it's crazy. So
it's really hard to continuously lie to people and like keep the veil on.
It's
like,
really,
it's
really
really
hard.
hard.
The
Yeah.
only way you can do that now is through algorithm.
yes,
If you think about it, you know, and so when there's an algorithm that says, hey, like, here's whatever, that's when people really start shitting themselves. And that's where, like, look, ultimately, what every government wants is their own power, right? And that's fun. That is politics, right? Like, realistically, whether it's for good, whether it's for evil, whether you think it's good, whether you think it's evil. That's not the point. The point is they want to dominate the narrative. They want their own interests, and that's fine. But when there's something that democratizes information as much as TikTok, that's super dangerous for them. And also, it's like, not, Mark Zuckerberg knows the color of your ass hairs.
Oh,
Okay,
he
if
knows everything about you.
China knows it, who cares? China, you're not important enough for your fucking information. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Who
they
the fuck
know.
are you?
The whole privacy thing, I'm like, buddy,
Oh,
they
please,
know
please.
everything about you.
We're giving our data our data is crazy. I saw something where our data gets traded. It's like a crazy amount of times when we don't even know it, and a lot of these companies are making money off of it.
100%.
How many times are we subscribing to, like when we shop, we're entering
terms
our
and
email,
conditions, terms and conditions.
put in our and who's reading that? It's crazy.
I tried reading it once. I
Yeah, it's
stopped after
terrible.
like 3 minutes. I'm like,
Oh.
this is
I can't.
Get a headache before you even get to the halfway
I got a
through.
new email scam the other day that was so fucking good. I almost replied. I was almost like, hey, dude, that was fire. Congrats.
Oh,
like,
okay.
it was so good.
Oh man.
This guy sent me an email. Full disclosure, I moved like decently recent, but like these data collectors didn't get my new address yet. So that's how I knew like you don't have anything on me. But they were like, "Hey, Afta Hill, I see the porn you're watching. What if I showed up to your house at whatever street?"
Oh, that's
And I already knew like I don't live there anymore, so they have the
Yeah.
old info. I was like, "Oh, that's good." I wanted to reply and be like, "That's good. You guys, yo, you're cooking,
I've
fam."
gotten one of those before too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild. That's
Yeah,
Black
yeah.
Mirror-esque right there.
I almost
Scam.
wanted to send it back and be like, "Can you send me all the porn I watched? I forgot what the title of one of them.
They'll be
It
like,
was
if you,
really
don't,
good."
if you don't send X amount of Bitcoin
Yeah.
to this wallet,
Yeah.
I'm gonna release everything. And
And
it's
you're like, "Fam, please."
Yeah, there's no integrity with this, man. I saw a
Integrity?
grandma. I'll tell you this. No, I got a story for you. I saw a grandma online that got scammed of like 250K, I believe, because she thought she was dating Brad Pitt.
oh, it was
No fucking
800K,
way.
800K.
Something crazy. Yeah,
800K.
800. It was a large amount, and she was dating him. She was under the impression she was dating him for roughly
Yep.
2 years.
He was sending pictures
He was sending pictures at the hospital bed. And, like you look at the image, it clearly looks like his face is AI. And you know, as someone at that age, you would think you would tell your friends, you think you'd tell your family, and
Going
you
out
think
there.
that they would check her and be like, "Hey, listen, this is not it." And it just goes to show you,
They
like,
probably were checking her. She's like, no, you guys don't
you
understand.
guys don't understand. This is
Have
real
you
love.
guys seen?
This is real, and he doesn't have social media, so it makes it that much more feasible.
Have
this
you
could
guys
happen.
seen this trend that's going around of people who are 50 plus not being able to tell when things are AI? Like
Oh.
Yes.
really obvious
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah, it's scary.
And their kids will be like, "Dad, that's obviously AI." It was like a fucking picture of this impossible mountaintop or something that was obviously AI.
Like it, and it's like it's centered. It's surrounded by water.
Yeah,
yeah. I think I saw
And
that
he's
one.
like, "Dad,
I
this
saw
is
that one.
obviously AI." He's like, "No,
Where is this?
Where is this?" He's on the computer
Yeah.
searching it. He's like, "Where is this?" I'm like, "No, we're cooked. It's
Yeah,
over."
yeah.
And they're 50, but dude, that'll be us in 10 years. I
I-
promise you, that'll be us.
It's AI is so beautiful. I can never contest that. But what I want to know and what I'm a bit worried about is where will we be able to decipher real
No
from
shot.
fake?
No
Because
fucking
we
shot.
already use it in films. Like we see it in films. You
I
know
don't.
what
I
mean?
use it in my pitch deck.
You use it, but you use it in a film too.
Which one?
The short.
Oh yeah,
The backdrop,
The
right?
backdrop. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, why
Looks
wouldn't
so
you?
believable,
Yeah.
right? But it's like,
No, we're cooked.
When
As
do
soon
we-
as it gets a little better, we're cooked.
oh,
It's over.
oh yeah. Remember that
100%.
the whole Taylor Swift fiasco too? About the guy that made Taylor Swift and he drew AI.
That
whole
photo
nude,
looked
it
so
was-
fake too. It wasn't even
Yeah.
good, but like, imagine.
Yeah.
Like, just give it a little bit more time.
Oh yeah,
And we're
it's
fucking
evolving
cooked.
rapidly. It's
But
evolving
that's why,
rapidly.
like, I think artists should focus on like the humanity of their work. I don't
Yeah.
think being technically proficient matters anymore. I don't think anybody cares that you're the best fucking guitar player. I don't think anybody cares if you're the best drummer or pianist. Yeah, it's really cool, and there's always a market for someone who can play their thing really well. But it's like once AI gets a little bit better and it's almost there, you're gonna be like, I don't care. Oh, you wrote a fucking pop song that sounds like a pop song type beat. Okay, cool, good for you. It'll gear more towards like, holy shit, dude, this guy made some next shit that AI could never make and put a string of words together that make no sense that a fucking language model would never understand and a chord progression that makes no fucking sense. And finding a way to make that appealing will be the like winner.
Yeah, I think if you're creative and you take your work seriously, like you said, the humanity of it, you're not worried about AI. Because there's certain things that AI could never do that like an artist can do. And like the personal, like the personal stories, the Easter eggs, the things that speak to, a certain audience, the nuance. There's so many things that like a robot still can't do that a human can do. So if you're truly creative and you're truly pouring your passion into your work, I don't think you have anything to worry about. Why would I be worried that a robot can't make what I can make?
A robot can make the most mid shit really well.
Yeah.
So for all the people who are making really mid shit, pack it up. It's over for you. You know what I
talk
mean?
about those writers' rooms, eh?
Yeah. Talk about those sessions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those-
So for up and coming artists that are following you, what type of advice do you have for them?
I am.
Lenient.
I don't know anything. Preface. Like I think luck plays the biggest role in moving forward. But I will say, like, create your own luck. Like, put yourself in situations to succeed and perpetually show up for yourself, such that when an opportunity comes, you can seize it. I'd say, yes, I said being technically proficient doesn't matter, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be technically proficient. Do you know what I mean? That's not an excuse, right?
Mhm.
That just means it's not the most important part of your artistry ever, which I still believe. But get really good at the thing you do and make your own luck such that one day you will succeed.
One thing I've really gravitated towards you is like the creative risks you take, not only on TikTok but and with a lot of your music videos. I see sometimes artists, they like to stay in this box of playing it very safe. They don't get personal. They're not vulnerable, and it's a comfortable area for them to stay in, for many reasons. But with you, I see some, like, you had a music video where you're completely blindfolded, blood on, like, all this is like, what the hell is going on? Wow. Like, where does this come from? Where did you even get these ideas from?
Story first, or like message first, idea first, and then you execute. Right? A lot of people think of it the other way. They think, what is a cool scene? For instance, if you're writing a movie, that's the wrong way to approach it. The more interesting thing is, what is the story? And then, okay, now I have my story. What is the most interesting way to show this? What is the coolest scene that can express this idea? If you don't have an idea, it's good practice sometimes to just like make something cool for the sake of making something cool. But like, if you're not ideating, if you're not expressing yourself, then it's just a song. It's just a scene. It's just a character. It's just whatever. Really, I think finding provoking ideas, finding personal ideas, finding concepts that not only speak to you, but like light that light bulb over your head. And I was having a conversation with my late father, and he was a doctor and his whole life, like a science guy. And he got into like writing. He wrote a novel towards the end of his life. And he like pulled me aside, and he was literally on his deathbed. He's like, look, if there's an idea in your head, it's not up to you to... He said, basically, if the light bulb turns up over your head, it's only up to you to keep it on until the project's done.
Mm.
If that idea, that spark is there, take it and just keep that light on however you can by any means necessary until it's done. It's not up to you to like, oh, spark, okay, here's an idea, and then whatever. Oh, spark, here's an idea, whatever. Once you learn how to like execute those ideas, you find that like towards the 80 to 100% completion of a project, you will find so many interesting things that literally put the whole thing together, are the glue of the whole thing. Getting from 0 to 50 to 60 to 70%, that's just like, okay, I've made music my whole life, so yeah, I can get it to that point. How you decide to finish it is where those creative risks usually come in, because now you have to find like an interesting way to tie it all together and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's so profound. It's so true. Keeping that light on, man. You know, the aha moment. It's something like, you know, when you're writing a story, you know, you feel like you've broken a story.
Yeah.
You want to keep that momentum going. You know, when you're, you know, visualizing something or like that's so profound, man. Shout out to him.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
No, and when you guys write, like, I'm wondering, obviously we all worked on cycles together.
Yep.
Like when you guys are writing a story like that, at what point are you like, okay, a majority of the idea is here, but like, how do I finish it?
Yeah, so I started with the concept. I knew the concept from the beginning. I knew what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. How I knew I was finished and how I knew that everything was glued together. There's a moment where I was writing in the library, and I was mind you, just a preface, I was writing it during a time where I wasn't working. Like, I was actually laid off on my job at the time, and I had all this spare time and all this storytelling or emotions that are like, you know, Alex, we had this conversation the other day about like all this free time, right? So I went to the library and I cracked out this idea, and I'm writing and I'm writing and I'm writing, and I had days where I'll write a sentence, and I had other days where I'm writing 3, 4, 5 scenes, right? But there was a moment where I could visually see these characters talking. I'm not putting words in their mouth. They're actually speaking to me, and I'm just like a vehicle for that. And I think once I reached that point, the story kind of took care of itself. Like, I felt like I wasn't even writing it at that point. These characters were finishing the story for themselves. And I knew with the twist at the end, that was actually an idea I had like the day prior to finishing it. I'd never thought of that. And I think that's where like a lot of the beauty comes from, is like in those last moments, in those improvisational like moments of discovering, okay, what am I trying to say, and what would be the most provoking way to say it, similar to what you're saying there. But yeah, it was writing during a time where I was at a very, very low point, for sure. And I'm glad we could make it happen, bro. Like, it was on screen, it came out beautifully. I love it. So yeah, and I'm glad we got to work together, you too, bro. That was
Crazy.
the first time we collab, bro.
Yeah.
When Alex was showing me your music videos in at my crib this summer, he's like, "Yo, we gotta get this guy involved." I'm like, "Yo, who is this guy?" He's like, "Yo, we gotta get this guy involved, bro." And then he showed me a lot of your videos, and I'm like, "Okay, this is legit. This guy's not playing around. This guy's not playing around." So.
No, it was a fun process, and similar to what you said, like, I remember doing my first album, and it's like a concept album. It has like a story, an arc all the way through, and I also had like a lot of time to just write it out and whatever. But dude, like a lot of the most beautiful details didn't come until the very end, until there was, as you said, that point where it's like, I already know what the character is gonna say. It's like I'm not even coming up with it anymore. I know the world they live in. I know their motivation. I know what they're trying to say. All of that is here together, and then I just was able to, without thinking, you were just putting it down, and it just tied up so nicely to the point where there was things that like in the album that point to each other, like references that I didn't even intend, but that's what happens when you have a consistent world. That's what happens when your characters are consistent and the narrative itself is consistent. As you said, you're like, I'm not coming up with it. That's what this character would say. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean?
And I think the problem with a lot of writers, and mind you, I'm still new to this, but I think a problem of what I'm seeing with writing is a lot of people don't know what they're trying to say yet. And instead they just kind of think of a cool idea and a few scenes they can put together. And so it comes off as, you don't leave watching it and thinking, oh man, that's going to resonate with me. You just leave watching something that just looked cool, right? And it doesn't go past that. And I think that's a big problem we kind of run into now.
And it's tough because you have to write to get better.
You have to. It's reps.
Or you know what I mean? Or like you have to make music to get better. You have to make films to get better. All the while, it's like you also have to try to ideate and come up with ideas that resonate with you. Like on one hand, your technical proficiency needs to get better by doing the thing. And on the other hand, like in order to make a profound project, you need good ideas that like take time. You got to sit on those ideas and meditate on those ideas and, okay, what do I want? And how is it going? And who and why and all those things take time. And you can't put your practice on pause for that.
Yeah. And the thing about writing too is it's like, yeah, sure, there's skills, there's tips, there's formulas you can follow, but it's not formulaic. It's not robotic. You can't go into a space or writing session and know exactly what you're going to write. It's really tough to. You don't know what sentence you're going to write next. You don't know what that character is going to say. It's like you just have to be there present and just allow those things to flow through you and come to you. And it's being in a position where you give yourself that time. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridges said 90% of writing is procrastination.
100%
just giving you the time and the space to just sit back. And sometimes you'll have days, like I said, where you write a sentence.
Same,
I don't know if you ever saw that SpongeBob episode where he wrote the. It took him the whole episode to write the, but I'm seeing that as a kid, and it reflects so much to what we're doing now, man. And I'm like, you just got to give yourself that time and that space.
What is your guys' creative hygiene look like?
I need slow mornings.
Yeah.
Like my mornings, if first thing in the morning there's a bunch of stuff I gotta do, I'm cooked. There's nothing being created that day.
The world fucked you already.
The world has already fucked me. And it was easier being on the West Coast because even if I woke up at 5, it was still 7 a.m. in
East Coast time.
So I was still like, it was so quiet. Even by the time 8 o'clock came around, nothing is pressing or urgent. Here, I'm still adjusting back to like being up early. It's like everybody else is also up. So it's like you are starting to get emails. So really important for creative hygiene is just like having a few hours, or I'm actually not unstructured play. I call it. It's like you're not. There's no
plan in place.
You're just there with your ideas. Whether it's you in a pen and pad, blank pages, maybe I'm consuming some music, meditating, watching stuff, whatever it is, it has to be unstructured, or else the rest of the day it's gonna be so hard to tap into what I need to create. The other thing is just like I'm very conscious of like what I consume. You know, I think it's important. Tom Cruise watches a movie a day. You know, and you think about, he's a professional. That's what he does. That's the bare minimum. You should be watching a film a day. You know, for what we're doing, it's like, why not? There's always more movies coming out. There's always, you're always gonna be behind.
You could do a movie a day for the rest of your life,
and you
still wouldn't catch up.
Still wouldn't catch up. So I think at the bare minimum, it's like, okay, watching as many movies as possible. And then also other forms of art, like being in New York, you know, going to galleries, taking the city in, taking life in. Because I think the most crucial part of being an artist is the art of observation. You know, it's like when you're writing a song or you're writing a character, you are, the humanity of it is the mundane, right? It's like trying to bring something to life is not about the grandiose idea. It's like, how do you make these characters feel grounded and real? Okay, well, it's in the way, you know, you fix your jacket when you're about to sit down, or in the way that you, when you're walking in the door, you know, what hand you're grabbing the handle with, right? How you're hanging your jacket up before, you know, getting ready to work, right?
I mean, just because we're Persian and I have to kind of bring it up, the way Hafez writes poems is fascinating, because what did I read recently? It was something along the lines of like, if my tears don't bring the redness out of my cheeks, will I like kind of, do I really miss you type beat? I'm like, what a beautiful way to say, like, if you don't make me cry. It's significantly prettier, but it's in the observation. It's in the, okay, when you cry, obviously it comes down your cheeks might get red. What could that mean? All of those things are in that observation, as you said. Yeah,
the art of observation. So it's in writing, it's in songwriting, it's in directing, especially because it's like, especially if I'm not writing the thing, right? It's like I have to figure out how to make his vision come to life. It's also my vision too, but you know, I think the details are so important, and those details come from observing human behavior, you know. And so a lot of just like consuming, observing, and then being in a place where you can think clearly. You know, if there's too much going on around you, if there's an environment where there's too much happening, it's really hard to get into that zone where you can, you know, create relentlessly. So I think that for me, that's what creative hygiene looks like.
What about for yourself?
I say for me, it's a bit similar. I make sure I wake up early enough. You know, roughly 7, 8, 9. I like to start my day with a workout.
Nice.
I think when you can conquer a workout, when you could commit to something and finish it, it's the first step in saying, okay, everything else comes easy. Because that those morning workouts, man, it's tough. It's really tough to get started, and it's really tough to finish. But it's a commitment to yourself.
It's a small win,
and it's a small win, but it stacks up over time and it builds up. So I start like that. And then recently I've been getting into journaling, and it's been helping me out a lot. Just kind of clearing my mind and allowing me to prioritize what's needed to be done first. Kind of it allows me to take an audit emotionally on what I'm doing as well too. So I'll start with that. I'll read my Bible, just scripture to kind of help ground me as well too. And then from then on, I'll either go to a space, whether it's the library, whether it's a studio, whether it's a friend's house, to kind of just write and kind of give myself that grace that, you know, I think a lot of my best writing comes when I remove those external pressures and remove those deadlines and timelines for what I need to finish. I remember like a month ago, because I think as artists, we like to put these pressures on ourselves. We're our own worst critic. And a lot of times I remember specifically last month where I've told myself, like, I got to finish this by this. And I'm like, when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, this is coming out terribly. Like, this is hot ass. Like, this is coming out terribly. And I said, okay, let me just remove that. Give it its time. It'll be finished when it's finished, but remove those external factors. And then back to Alex's point too, just observing. I think as an artist to me is simply, what do you have to say? Simply put, what do you have to say in any medium, right? When I was in acting school, my coach, Jean Bourgeois, man, frig, guy's a gem. He actually told one of my colleagues at the time. She was like maybe 19 or 20. She's like, listen, this program isn't for you. Go out, get your heart broken, come back. You'll have more to say. Live, experience things, observe things, because that's something that is so integral to what we do. We reference things that we've been through because it makes us that much easier to say it, to tell that story. It's so much harder to tell something that you don't know about, right? And so
Who's that director who makes something Lynch?
David Lynch?
David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
It was either him or one of the homies in adjacent said, in order to be a good filmmaker, you need to watch as many films as you can, and you need to learn how to pick a lock. And then people are like, what do you mean? He's like, learn interesting things. Do interesting things. Like, go in the real world and do things. You know what I mean? And it's true. You got to go out. You got to get your heart broken. You gotta.
Someone that can pick a lock probably was fucking doing heists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They probably have a lot to say as a filmmaker.
Yeah, that backstory was crazy. They probably had to do what they had to do, right? Just experience life, and I think we get caught up in always producing things and making things when really at the same time we should be devoting time to living too, right? Without that, who are you really?
And you said something about spaces. Some of the most interesting music I've ever made in my life has come in either libraries or coffee shops with my headphones on.
I want to talk to you about this because I remember having this conversation with you, Alex. You can write anywhere, right? For me, I'm a little bit different. I need to designate certain spaces because I feel like I'm just a bit more liberated or free or open in these places.
Are you a sit down in a room without the window kind of guy so that you can look at your thing?
I need a window.
You
I
do
need
need
a
a
window.
window.
I
Okay.
prefer a window.
Okay,
I prefer a
okay.
window.
I'm a guy. I don't need a window. I've written scripts on a plane.
Yeah.
I've written I have a little nook where I do my work, like a little office.
I'm like you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could do it anywhere.
Yeah. I need a window. I need a coffee.
I need headphones.
coffee.
Though.
I need
Headphones
headphones
are
are key.
crucial.
Noise cancels.
Yeah.
Noise
Whoever
cancellation.
discovered headphones needs their dick sucked yesterday. They're probably dead, but
They might be live. I don't know.
Yeah, headphones are a recent invention. No, they're
No,
probably
man.
1900s.
they've been
right?
around
They've been
for
around
at least
yeah.
80 years.
Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's 2025. No, more than that. Almost
Yo,
100 years.
Do you ever? Okay, you know we're getting old. You know when you sign up for things, and you got to put the year of birth,
And you gotta scroll.
You got to scroll now. That scroll is getting longer and longer and longer, bro. It's
I just do the I do the lotto.
the light.
See if it lands.
Just like,
You know, Wheel of Fortune.
bro, I'm like, so I'm a 96er, and
You're
I'm
about
like,
to get an email that says, Alex, I know you were born in 1962. Wouldn't it be sad if your grandchildren saw your porn?
Oh, they would have a great time.
yeah.
That's so good. I think that the last thing I want to bring up is this. We were talking about Drake and Kendrick.
Oh yeah.
So, well, this has to be said, but like, this fucking lawsuit is so fucking strange. There's no fucking precedent really for what's happening here in terms of a publisher being liable for the harassment and defamation of an artist, and B, it's like he didn't even sue Kendrick Lamar. Like, there is some precedent for I had to search this up. There's some precedent for being sued over your art as liable. By the way, not successfully, because usually it falls under freedom of speech. But like, I think Eminem got sued by Kim for that song.
Yep.
He won.
He hated her.
Yeah, he did.
hated
But
her.
like, it didn't stick.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he didn't sue Kendrick Lamar, because it's really hard for that to stick, because the artist could just be like, it's my art. I'm just talking shit.
I was saying this on the last
last,
pod,
yeah.
and it got a lot of backlash. His beef is
Sorry,
not
you
with
said
Kendrick.
You say blacklash?
No, I said backlash.
Dude,
that was crazy.
That was
That was
crazy.
crazy. The precedent, it's not with. The precedent is in the bigger picture of the negotiation with UMG.
Yes.
It's not against Kendrick. It's not me and you not liking each other. The defamation, it's like if you're suing Kendrick for defamation, then yeah, that's a bitch move.
Yeah.
Like let's call it what
No,
it is.
he's saying that UMG has a fiduciary responsibility. I'll use $1 words for anyone who doesn't know. Fiduciary responsibility means that like they are legally obligated to have Drake's best interest because he is their artist. And they didn't do that knowingly. That's a different argument. And I could kind of see it.
Especially if you're in a negotiation with them. Because
Yeah.
if I'm negotiating, this is the thing I've realized in negotiations. First of all, it's probably one of the most like riveting adrenaline rushes I've experienced in my life. It's like when I'm trying to get what I want out of someone. And it's like a back and forth where there's actually no rules.
You can get anything you want in a negotiation in theory.
In theory, you
Yeah.
can get anything you want because there's no rules around how you get what you want, right? And so for them, it's like, okay, let's bring his price down a notch and back this beef on this side.
He keeps the light on in 3 of the offices that
Yeah,
we have,
'cause if
but
I'm not
maybe let's do 2 offices.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't he in his contract supposed to be renewed this year or something?
Because he's on a distribution deal with them.
He's Fred VanVleet on that last year with the Raptors.
Yeah.
And even that's a great example. Like you think about like, that's a perfect example. Basketball players get in that same situation. They're not at odds with ownership, but when a guy gets into a contract year,
See how like the owners sometimes will
minutes start going down.
Oh, here's a
You know.
DMP. Why did this guy get a DMP?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they used to do it in the NFL a lot, where there's KPIs in contracts.
Can you break that down for us?
Key performance indicators.
Indicators.
Yeah.
Or key performance metrics. And a lot of players, I don't know if this became like a widespread thing, but a lot of players would talk about how it's like the last couple of games of the season and they might have milestones.
They
on
need one
Yeah.
more yard, one more
10
this.
more yards, this kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And owners would get involved and say, yo, don't play him this game.
Yeah.
Because
they
they
do
know
that in the NBA too.
They do it in the NBA
Yeah.
too. If a guy gets a first all NBA or like, you know,
20
I don't,
points
get
per
a
game. He's at
contract bonus.
19.8.
Yeah.
He just
You
needs
know?
a 20-point game.
Yeah.
Like,
so that the owners can pay him less. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we forget this is the corporatization of arts, of sports. You were saying at the beginning, why do we want to make things efficient and the humanity of these things? But when big money gets involved, the humanity of these things is removed. We can appreciate a good beef. We can appreciate when our favorite player goes for 60. But when a company has dollars on the line, these guys are thinking about bottom line. And in Drake's scenario, I'm looking at that. It's like, okay, well, my account used to say, like, when you're running a business, there's 3 ways you can improve your business. Add value, add volume, cut costs. So if Drake does add value and he's definitely doing volume, the only other thing for UMG to do is cut costs. And it's cheaper for them to pit the artists against each other in order to drive his price down. Because you know that.
So we can agree on this, but Drake's team needs to find proof. They need to find the CEO of racism or whatever, whoever runs UMG, and find his text message with his vice CEO of racism being like, yo, let's fucking do X, Y, and Z so Drake looks like a whatever. That's going to be fucking tough. That's going to be hard to find.
It's going to be difficult to prove in court.
Yeah. How are you going to, again, unless they're, like, really stupid and, like, actually fucking did that. But it's also, it doesn't seem like that. I think that the public doesn't like Drake. I think the public consciousness has not liked Drake for a long time.
It's easy
to not like him.
It's easy hate, especially when you see someone for so long
So
dominating.
dominant.
It's like, okay,
And then
people are like, okay, what's next?
He's kind of a petty dude. And that's not my value judgment of him. He sends shots at people. Hey, such and such, here's a subliminal. You can have a sub. He's like Oprah, but with subliminal. He's like, you get a sub, you get a sub, you get a sub. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like UMG, he had no problem with UMG when they were pushing that. I'm sure some of those artists were UMG artists. A lot of them that he cooked.
UMG has a huge
they
record
got the
of
Weeknd.
artists. Yeah.
Everyone.
Even like from time, bro, before that, bro, it's crazy.
It's a legacy company, bro.
Yeah.
They've been around for 100 years. They have
insane.
the infrastructure
So,
to pour
but what I'm
millions of
saying
dollars
is,
into
like,
these artists.
It's tough because here's the like pot calling the kettle black in a sense, because it's like, dude, so did you. I mean, yeah, you didn't call none of them a pedophile, But you did say lots of shit about all these people. 1, 2, the precedent that your publisher is responsible for the music is fucked up, because that means now the publisher has to look over every fucking song and say, you know what, such and such, you can't say this because let's say I'm a UMG artist and I'm like, you know what, fuck graham crackers, turn your ass orange, right? Then the publisher would be like, no, you can't say that because graham crackers gonna come and they're gonna fuck you up, they're gonna sue my ass for what you said. That's a weird precedent to set as well.
But this is corporate, man.
Yeah,
like I think
corporate,
when corporate, when it gets to this level, it's like the precedent is like a lot of these precedents have never been set.
And this one hasn't. And that's
This one
why it's
hasn't.
tough, where it's like,
This was his red button.
there's no more rap beef after this if this happens. No
Yeah, we'll see.
no more big label rap beef, rather.
Because
No more-
but then you have to ask the question: if this was the precedent, was Kendrick doing this on his own free will, or was the label behind it? Because someone commented on the post, someone I know, and they're like, "It's not that nuanced." And I'm like, "Bro, it actually is. If you're in a business negotiation with an entity." And they don't want to pay you. That's my assumption.
100,
It's
yeah.
like they don't want to pay a guy who's made them over $1 billion, because you're gonna have to pay. Who's gonna pay for that? They have to cut that check. So it actually is that nuanced. And so you have to ask, well, if that's the case, maybe these guys already didn't like him. But
I don't think that UMG. Let me put it to you like this, okay? We'll take it back to basketball. Your basketball. DeMar DeRozan is the perfect example, okay? You got your star guy. He's giving you, 25 a night, 6-7 seasons straight, all-star. You're the 1 seed, you're the 2 seed, you're the 3 seed, every single one of those years. As the owner, you don't really love that guy. Yeah, he's your guy. He's bringing money in the door. But as soon as there's another guy who's bringing more money in the door, you're making that fucking trade. Because you're not in the business of being friends with your artist.
and sometimes people forget that it's like this is a business
Yeah,
at the end of the
business
day.
first.
It's cutthroat.
Bottom
If
line.
you're looking, Kendrick, he dropped 3 songs. They were all disses, and every single one of them went number 1, back to back to back, in a year where, like, if I'm not mistaken, someone can fact check me, not a single hip hop song went number 1.
Yeah, but Drake was still the highest streamed artist, and
He
didn't
was.
Drake drop anything.
But not a single hip hop song went number 1 on the Billboard charts without the name Kendrick Lamar on it. I could be mistaken. There could have been one, right? You're UMG. You're like, oh, this guy is fucking cooking. He's cooking. Okay, why? I'm gonna bench this guy. I'm gonna play this guy because he's dropping 50 a night. I want to win. That's my prerogative. That's also another way to look at it. And it's gross and it's exploitative. Yes, it is. It's really gross. Another way to look at it is like, oh, here comes a guy who is, his name's Juice WRLD, and he talks about fucking doing drugs, and his music is clearly him like screaming for help in every way. But he's putting up 50 a night.
I
It
saw-
looks like his ankle's about to explode, but he's putting up 50 a night.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. I think this was on the Joe Budden podcast about how UMG lowered the value of Kendrick Lamar's in terms of negotiations with Spotify. They lowered the value of Kendrick Lamar's songs to Spotify, so that way they can buy more to market it and push it forward more, which plays into their hand as well. It would help kind of, because I was saying this on the last episode, bro. I would listen to songs with like Cleo Soul and like very slow songs, and the next thing I'm hearing Not Like Us. I'm like, how is this? The algorithm, Spotify's algorithm is some of the best I've ever seen. There's no way in hell that that's happening.
Yeah.
It's very odd and it's very weird. So I think there's definitely an agenda. There's definitely an agenda happening there.
This is a very nuanced
It's
conversation.
Wait,
very
but
nuanced.
can
It's
I
not-
can I just, as someone in the music industry, the entire formula of promoting songs in the internet age is see which song is doing well and then pour
Double
as
down
much
on it.
fucking money on it and gasoline on it as humanly possible. You wait for the crowd to say, I like this thing. And then you say, okay, everything, pour as much fuel on it as possible. So it's going to be hard to say that, like, Drake has to sort of prove that people almost didn't like Not Like Us, but they force fed it to us which
Yeah,
is going to
it
be
was-
impossible
That's the
because they're
caveat.
playing the
It's- yeah.
fucking song all over the world in clubs. When you play a song in the club, that means that people in that club want to hear that song.
To be fair, I never heard Not Like Us in the club.
Really?
Have you guys?
Yeah, like at a
I'm not.
function.
I'm
guys
not a
have?
club guy.
I'm not a club guy, but I've heard
You've
at
heard it?
functions. Yeah. You see videos of fucking people in like
I-
China
Yeah.
playing Not Like Us and shit. Yeah.
I think Drake has. We'll see, because sometimes another thing about lawsuits, sometimes you might not actually have a case at all.
He's trying to settle, I think. That's my guess.
Depends on what he's trying to get out of it. Like sometimes, suing somebody, there might
Optics.
be no way that you can win a case.
Mm-hmm.
But the optics, the strategy behind it, the pressure it puts people under, sometimes it's used as a chess move to get people to come to the table to talk, to get people to
It
come.
might be tough though, because if UMG's like, no, we're going down with the ship, it's gonna get ugly. If they can't find anything, I'm not saying there is or isn't. I'm saying if they can't find anything, it's gonna get real ugly. It's gonna get real bad, and Drake's value is ultimately just gonna plummet lower than it already has in this scenario if they don't find a single thing, and if UMG fights back, and if they don't settle.
I don't think Drake has anything to lose.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
You're the biggest artist in the world, and I just wonder when everybody became.
Just haters.
No, it's not even haters. This is how much people hate Drake. Okay, people are sitting there saying the label would never. The label would never. We're talking about companies that have been exploiting artists for years,
Years,
putting
not
them in
brother, decades.
decades, a century.
Almost
Centuries,
a
actually.
century,
Yeah,
yeah,
almost a
exactly. Not
century.
even just music.
So
and every,
for me,
yeah,
it's like
every
the
paradigm.
cognitive dissonance of like you thinking. One, it's like, oh yeah, like fuck the label. Look at this guy. He wants to get out of his deal. And then here's a guy who's actually going against the label for whatever reason.
But it's tough because Drake keeps the lights on.
He does keep the lights on.
Drake gets a say. I think the real conversation is, do we think that Drake, because he keeps the lights on at tons of these brick and mortar UMG like downtown offices, does he actually sway the say of this disgusting capitalistic sludge pile that is UMG?
And this is one thing I caught backlash on. Did Michael Jackson?
No. Tommy Mottola, he was he didn't want Michael Jackson to have his way, and that's why Invincible didn't have a promo tour. Last Michael Jackson album, and yeah, no promo tour.
Was that 2003?
One.
Right before,
One.
yeah.
That was the white cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that- love
He
that
didn't do a
CD.
tour because he's like, what did he say? What's the Tommy Mottola is the devil, Sony is the devil. He said that on TV. In fact, I think.
Yeah.
And
Got too powerful.
Yeah.
They
And
don't
then
want
he-
a black man with that
No,
much
man,
power.
please.
well, he also bought like a significant part of Sony, and I think they were shitting their pants a little bit.
He bought the Beatles at Masters,
Yeah.
Elvis's
Yeah.
Masters.
There's one thing. This conversation revolves around this idea of ownership and how important that is as artists we have, and just as a society. Like, we're in a time now where ownership is little to none in everything we do.
Do you know about John Deere tractors?
No, what happened?
Do you know?
No.
Okay, when you buy a John Deere tractor, they might have changed it because of legislation, but you don't own the right to fix that tractor.
You need a right to fix a tractor.
That's interesting.
They put it such that when you buy it, you do not have the right to fix your own fucking tractor. You have to
Is that
take
a
it
patent
to them.
thing?
You have no. It's just like
It's illegal to fix the
it is
tractor that I
illegal
bought.
to fix the tractor you bought with your money that you use on
So
your
you don't own
farm.
it?
You don't own it, yeah.
You don't own it.
That's
don't own it.
interesting.
That's why the ice cream machines were broken for the longest time.
Ah, the McDonald's.
Because only one company had the rights to fix them.
Oh man, those Sundays are fire too.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I think, we can talk shit about Biden till the cows come home, but I think he passed the right to repair, which put an end to a lot of these
Yeah.
things. But that was one way where they were like, no, you don't own it.
Yeah.
Oh, you paid $30,000 for a tractor? Man, sorry, you
Well,
don't own it.
Nothing's about it. And the ownership is at a low. Like, everything's streamed nowadays. Spotify, we pay a subscription to. Apple Music is subscription based, right?
What do we
When's
own? That's actually my question, you guys. What do we own?
Real estate, technically, you take out a mortgage. You don't even own it until that's paid off. And even then, like, you're still paying. It's
You kind of own the clothes on your back if you didn't buy it with like a credit
You
card
know.
and you don't hold that on
Please
that.
don't tell me, guys. I know Afterpay's a thing, but I hope people aren't doing that as much as phones, right? We take out a tab on a lot of these things. Sometimes you buy them
Welcome
outright,
to the
but
world of capitalism, my friend.
yeah,
I think that like Spotify's fucking streaming has permanently dampened art because the agreement is different. It used to be like, hey, artist, I would like to buy a copy of your artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your CD.
yeah.
Or, yeah, it's just like a physical version of the thing you made. I would like one for myself that I own.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Apple Music shuts down. I'm cooked.
Oh, jeez.
We don't have anything.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think,
own any of this shit.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, okay, the agreement is not that I'm buying music anymore, therefore the album's not $10.99.
yeah.
And as a consumer, you're like, okay, it's kind of sick. I'll pay 0.6 cents, or if you're on Spotify, 0.3 or 0.2 cents to listen to this song.
It's less than that. 0.00.
Well, it's
Two.
0.2 of a cent, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
It's bad.
it's disgusting, man.
yeah.
No, and it changes the art. It changes the fabric of it.
Because
like,
that
even in the
song used to
film
be
space.
worth 350 times more.
Yeah, yeah.
350. Can you name many other things that devalued 350x overnight, and then we still expect them to be not even as good but better? We expect the music to be better than it was before, but it's worth 350 times less. Where? How? Why?
Yeah.
In what world?
Yeah, it's
You'd have to
backwards.
stream that song that many times to make that $1,
Mhm.
like 400 times roughly to make $1. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's why music's bad business, man.
Welcome back to the Brazzers, where it get fucked by the industry. Turn around and touch
man.
your toes.
Oh man.
After,
tough.
man.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Let these guys know where they can find you, man.
Yo, wherever on the internet you do things, except for Brazzers, search at Afta Hill. If the industry gets bad enough and you're watching this in 10 years, maybe even search there. Yeah, Afta Hill, AFTAHILL, anywhere and everywhere. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, man.
Of course.
Long overdue.
Yeah, it's long overdue. It's a pleasure we got to work with you. It's a pleasure we could have you on here.
Likewise.
We'll see you February 20th.
Yep.
One Night with the Gifted Gab. Coach While Black and Cycles will be premiering.
Jeez.
Plus a live podcast.
Ooh,
So
fire.
it'll be something for everyone. On that note, guys,
Just like that.
we're out. Movies.
Sometimes in music videos, they're real numbers.
Oh,
like
yeah?
they're promo numbers, right? Like the label will buy the number and then you, like I have one.
Oh no way! And then
Yeah.
what happens when you call it? Or like
1-888-609
1-888-609.
4506.
I'm going to laugh if a collections agency answers.